Hey guys, my name is RJ, this is The Secret Stacks, and today I want to do something a little different where I talk about the future of books, in particular the formatting of books, and some things I've thought about after reading Illuminae. If you aren't familiar with Illuminae, it's a YA sci-fi book which is told through a series of hacked documents and is really interesting because of the format. And it creates some really interesting questions and possibilities about books as a whole. What makes Illuminae so cool is the variety of formats within the same book. We're talking about interview transcripts, instant messenger transcripts, emails, wiki pages, conspiracy websites. It's really cool and really made the book a lot more interesting. It's actually shocking how shocking a change in book formatting is because it really puts into stark contrast how monotone most books are formatted. I mean, 99.99% of books, they all look the same inside, which is surprising until you think back about the history of books themselves and how little they've changed over the years. You're talking about maybe 3 major innovations over hundreds of years. You went from handwriting to the printing press, and from the printing press to computers, and from computers finally to ebooks, and that's where we are now. And ebooks themselves, while they're touted as this really impressive and groundbreaking technological advance, they're actually not all that different from books themselves. They look exactly the same, they're just on a screen. I mean, it really is amazing how little they're using the technological potential of ebooks to take books from just straight up text to multimedia experiences. Think about it. Audio, video, hyperlinks, all of those are available, and they're available right now, but you never see it. And the question is why? And I guess this is really where and why I want to have this conversation, because Illuminae struck me as a perfect opportunity to break in some of this new technology for the ebook version of the book. But all it was just a reprinting of what was on the page, and not even dynamic text. It was essentially PDF versions of the book, which actually made the ebook experience worse, when the ebook could have been one of the most revolutionary pieces of bookmaking, of writing, that we've ever seen. Now think about how Illuminae is set up. Like I said, you've got transcripts of interview conversations. What if those were almost in audiobook form, embedded, you could play back, listen to, in the context of your book? They had transcripts where someone was transcribing what they saw in a video. What if they had actually embedded video into the book itself? And finally, they had wiki-like pages in the book, almost as images. But what if they let us, or linked us outside of the book, to a dedicated website where we could play around and find out the history and some of the conspiracies within Illuminae in the context of exploring a web page, just like you would explore a topic on Wikipedia. All of that technology exists, and there's no way that it couldn't happen with Illuminae or some other book. I mean, think of the possibilities. What if you're reading The Perks of Being a Wallflower, and you know how they mention all this great music? Well, what if they had a play button right on the screen where you could click it, takes you to Spotify, or even without taking you outside of the book, plays an audio of the clip so you get to know what this music is that the characters are listening to. It sets the screen, it can play in the background, you can keep reading, or you can just listen to the song. I'm somebody who, I went up and looked up a lot of these different artists and the songs that were mentioned in the book, and I think that'd be something that's really cool. Or what if you're reading something like Lord of the Rings or some other fantasy story with a deep history, with a lot of footnotes, a lot of something that doesn't fit right within the text, but instead has hyperlinked words where if you're curious about some aspect of the history, you click on that, it brings you to a wiki-like page where you can pal around, get the history that you need, and then jump right back in the story, all in one seamless transition where you're never actually leaving the book versus having to exit out, having to research, having to refine your page. Now, what about a spy conspiracy or a mystery? Just having a lot of these document dumps where it lets you filter through it, almost like a choose your own adventure, in terms of it gives you lots of clues, it gives you false clues, but you actually have to be the one discovering this type stuff. Now again, this isn't for everyone, but the possibilities are there to take books to the next level and really being beyond reading to a multimedia experience. Like I mentioned, the technology is already there, so why haven't we seen this before? The big thing is costs and rights. You're never going to see this from self-published authors, and you're not going to see a lot of big five publishers willing to take this risk because it is more expensive to create unique videos or to buy the rights to songs or to create audiobooks within the books themselves, even though these are something that eventually happens anyway when they make the audiobook or when they make the movie or when these wikis already exist. But it's a risk to create them all at the beginning because those things are only created for really successful books. So maybe instead of being first editions, these can be second, third editions after the books really take off, and something actually to entice old readers. There's actually a financial benefit here. So if any big five publishers are watching my channel, right, well, I'll let you have the idea for free because I think this is really cool. Now again, I mentioned songs. Again, to put a song in the book, you've got to own or license the rights. And again, that doesn't cost zero, so you can see why they'd be hesitant to do it. So maybe the first step isn't to have, the songs in The Perks of Being a Wallflower, getting the rights to all those songs, but what if for the Beatles biography, which was licensed, what if within that licensing and authorizing deal, they also licensed the use to have those songs embedded in, so when you're going through the history, you can follow along with the music seamlessly. Maybe it just dumps you to YouTube. Maybe the YouTube videos are actually embedded in there themselves, so you can see performances from different audiences. But again, this is something I'm really surprised it hasn't been out there, a multimedia musician biography, because if they're sanctioning it, and if they're autobiographies, they own the rights themselves, why aren't we combining these two things together? It really is amazing how little books have changed over hundreds of years and how ebooks haven't really changed at all within 10 years. And the question is, why isn't there that innovation? And the publishing industry is partly to blame here because they really are one of the slowest adapting industries out there. It's really reactionary, Somebody catches lightning in the bottle with a new story, and then you see a lot of people reacting and do a lot of things similar to this. But all it takes is one really brave or innovative publisher to say, hey, look at this, and present something new to the marketplace. So I think we're going to get there eventually. I think that is the future, especially as more and more readers translate to ebooks. And I know so many people on BookTube, it's all about the physical books, and not just the physical books, it's all about the hardcovers. But eventually, whether it's 10 years, 20 years, 200 years, eventually physical books are probably going to go away. Again, maybe not in our lifetime, but think of all of us living in space stations. Think about the 100. Nobody was reading books up in space. It's just not efficient, but we're all going to have tablets. Stories aren't going to go away just because books might eventually go away. So the question is, are they just going to continue to be text, or will they innovate, and will they continue to push the boundaries of innovation in a way that books haven't before? But as soon as technology gets introduced to the question, well, that opens up the possibility. But I don't really know what I'm talking about. I'm just babbling. I'm curious what you guys think, whether you'd be interested in a book like this, or whether you think it's just a mess and just too confusing, having audio involved or video or whatever. So let me know what you think down in the comments below. And until next time, see ya.